I think that maybe the one last thing I could touch on is, if you go to turn back in the lease, what are they looking for? If I can't ding my car, I can't mod my car, I can't do this. Well, the whole modding thing, it comes down to being in warranty. It's the same thing. So if you've got a new car and you go to mod it, it's all up to the dealer, really. Me working for a dealer, yes, that does help me, but just to kind of tell you, it's up to your dealer. Just ask them maybe first, if I put a cold air intake on it, you guys going to warranty my, axle if it falls off or something? There's dumb stuff that dealers will do that they kind of have the right to do, but it's up to them. So that's why you need to maybe just establish it. Hey, I'm going to be putting an exhaust on here. Do you guys care? I'm going to be putting an intake on. Do you care? It's the same with leasing. They really, and I'll just say this in general, they really don't care day to day. So if, you put an intake and exhaust on and you come in for an oil change, they're going to be like, oh no, you're in a lease. Yeah, we better call the leasing company. They're not going to do that. So it only comes down to if something needs to be fixed under warranty. It's the same with leasing. So you just kind of have to either A, take into consideration that if something breaks and they want to not cover it, that you're prepared to do that. Or you got a cool dealer or whatever, and you make sure that they're okay with that before you put on any kind of modifications. My rule of thumb is, just in case I do have to hand the keys back, I'm not going to invest in a lot of unboltable modifications, I guess. Just bolt-ons. Intake, exhaust. Sure, if you want to do a pulley, tune, whatever, you can always unbolt that stuff and sell it if you want to. Like I said, I don't plan on turning this back in. I plan on buying it, so it doesn't really matter what I do. In a sense, to the fact if I buy it, to whoever I'm going to sell it to is whether or not they care about those modifications. But the people that are planning on pretty much giving the keys back or wanting to get something new every 3 years, maybe you don't want to go too hardcore on the modifications or anything that you can't unbolt, or that you're afraid that your dealer might not, repair. As far as dings and dents and scratches, you can usually, there's usually a book that they have at the dealer. They probably don't have one in stock, but how big a dent can be, how big a scratch can be, how big a tear can be. There are limitations that you don't have to pay for at the end of the lease if there's this and this and this. They also want your tires to be in a certain shape. I think it's like 5/16 or something like that. Basically to where they're not to the wear mark. They've got a little bit more than the wear mark on them, to where somebody could drive on them for a little bit if they wanted to. Like a suitable used tire. So know that when you go to turn it in, that you got to have decent tires. Can't have too many scratches. As long as you take care of your car, you're going to be fine, is the idea. Over mileage on SRT, it's 50 cents a mile right now. That could change. But usually on regular leasing, it's 25 cents a mile. That's going to depend on your leasing company. They establish all this stuff. So you can prepay for mileage if you know you're going to use more. Of course, leasing comes in usually 10,000, 12,000, and 15,000 miles a year. I should have mentioned this in the earlier video, and that's how your lease is factored, is how many miles you're going to be using. So, if you're going to be using more than you think miles, let's say you do the biggest lease, 15,000 miles a year. So that's 45,000, but you think you're going to use 50,000 because that's what you do. Well, you can say, well, how much is it to buy 5,000 extra miles? Usually you can get it at a slightly discounted rate than what the overage charge is. And again, this goes back to doing research and knowing what the overage charge is, and then asking what the pre-buying fee is for the mileage. So keep that in mind as well.